good morning, or whatever time it is when you're listening to this. I have a smattering of thoughts this morning that I wanted to share. So I believe I began this journey. Today is May 3rd, and I believe I began recording these videos related to my journal April 2nd. So just a month ago, 31 days ago. And these are all related to my Embodied Law of Attraction journal. Fourth edition, Shannon White. Let's open this sucker up. Wield the reaches of your imagination, the power of your emotions, and the wisdom of your body to summon your dream life by Shannon White. And it is a compilation, a synthesis of work that I've been doing for almost 2 decades. And so I'm putting myself through the process. And I've spoken about this before, but one, there's something I'm wanting to manifest. Uh, two, proof is in the pudding. And three, I am going to revise it based on what I do and all that kind of stuff. I like that, I said fourth edition, and I believe I created the first one. It was in 2021 or 2022. I think it was 21. And, it's an open creation. So every time I go back into it, there's something I want to adjust or add or rewrite or whatever. I love that. Like, that's my creative nature. That's how it comes through me. And it's why I love teaching because I create an outline and then when I'm in the room, like it changes, it depends on what's showing up and so I have a structure in mind and then I can meet the moment based on that structure. And so today I took my beautiful dog for our walk that we do about once a week, and it's a 2-mile walk around some ponds and lovely, especially coming from the Phoenix area where there's not much water. And if there is, it's usually man-made and surrounded by concrete or cement, whichever one it is. Tell me in the comments which one's correct. And my girl is staring at me now. Um, and so I was thinking about my manifestation. I was thinking about where I am in it, where it is relative to me. And then I did put on one of my recordings, one of these recordings, and listen to it as we walked. So the first thing is, and I don't buy into this super strongly, but it is something that shows up, which is, where's the manifestation? Hello, where is it? And it's great that I have, through this experience, and this is like a recommendation or a teaching related to this material. When doing this work, like when coming in and tending to what's in the journal, whether you're doing the imagination exercises or you're doing the emotional alchemy or you're embodying it or whatever, do the work and then let it go. So fixating on where it is it coming in? Am I closer? Is it closer? All that stuff is not helpful, is not useful. So I have been easily able to just do the work, record these videos, and then let it be. And then just notice like what's the next thing that comes up. But sometimes that sneaky little thought can chime in and be like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And not to sound too Abraham Hicksy about it, but that is what is that's gonna like keep it, that's like beating the drum. I am gonna be Abraham Hicksy about it. That's beating the drum of it's not here. So every time you're like, where is it? That's you saying it's not here yet. So if possible, like do the work, let it go. Do the work, let it go. And So I did have that thought a little bit this morning, and I was like, well, instead of just thinking, where is it? How about I explore where I am? So again, I put on a podcast and I was listening of my own. I believe it was number 6. So when I took my list of fears into the doubts section of the journal and then found like a limiting belief in there. And I had created before recording that one a list of 6 things. So, just a quick recap. I did my fear one. I realized what would help me feel safe would be help. I created a list of 6 types of help that I could ask for. And this is why it's useful to have a journal or have a place where you're recording all of this because you can revisit it. So that it's like a nice balance between letting it go and also like, you came up with something, like you went somewhere and like revisiting that. And at the time of the recording, the type of help that felt most interesting to me was to ask to be on other people's podcasts. And when I was listening today to that recording from a couple weeks ago, I the first thing I thought would be helpful would be to ask these people that have these large audiences for me, like, to promote my work or mention my work or whatever. And today, that's what stood out to me. So I'm not jumbled in my mind, but like my brain has gone to like 6 different places. So if it's coming through a little, that's why. But there's a point. Um, so so I had named Oprah, Glennon Doyle, and Tony and Ryan. You probably know who Oprah is. I probably don't need to explain that. I also imagine she's the one that has the most number of uh, things before you could reach her. She has the biggest shield between her and the public. And Glennon Doyle, she's a writer, she has a podcast. And I would say she's like, I was listening to her a few years ago, and that's when I was in a lot more of a mental place with things. Like I was coming from my brain a lot, and like she's a very cerebral person. It's not really where I feel like my work would make the most sense to like be promoted or whatever. Anyway, so I'm not that related to her show anymore, is what I'm trying to say. And then Tony and Ryan, if you like, so they are an Australian duo. Tony's the woman, Ryan's the man. And I have been listening to them not since their beginning, but I have listened to all the podcasts since the beginning. And they are just funny. And they record regular podcasts. It used to be 5 days a week. Now it's 4 days a week because now they do all video on YouTube. And then they're so funny. They're so funny. And they do a segment at the end of every show called You Love to See It. And so they'll like talk about something that they love to see. And sometimes that includes one of their podcast listeners who has done something brave or done something good or started the fucking blog. So they say, meaning like finally just get whatever the thing is they've been wanting started. So they're like probably the easiest access and easiest, like gentlest to me to write to. And so I was just thinking about that. So that was on my walk this morning. And then I came home and I always listen to their podcast when I'm working out in the morning in my spare room. And so I had them playing this morning, and then I was thinking about my stability accelerator course. And the first stage in that, the first module in that is about like, what is your relationship with money? And whatever your relationship is with money, you also have that relationship in other areas of your life. You probably have it in places where you're trying to find power. You probably have it in your intimate sexual relationships as well. You might find the same kind of things in friendship. But whatever we're projecting onto money, we are experiencing that somewhere else. Like money is not the problem. It is not the problem at all. It is just a transactional energy. I want this, you want that. We're agreeing this is what these things are worth, and we're going to do an exchange. We project things onto money, and they are the things that limit us and all that kind of stuff. And so I was thinking this morning, all of this is related, I promise. Like, what is my relationship to money? And I'm like, well, I currently have money coming in. It's coming in steadily. My life is paid for. I'm able to save some. I'm able to spend pretty freely, like I could definitely there are other levels that I could go up. But in general, like I'm able to do the things that I want that are pretty local, like within reason. And, I mean, the first time, I don't know if that's true. Maybe in my 20s I had this too, but it's like the first time in my life since my Saturn return for sure that I have steady money coming in that isn't reliant on like how many clients am I going to get and all that kind of stuff. Because I was a massage therapist and I was a cranial practitioner and I was a polarity practitioner and da 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 da. And so my income depended on individuals booking. Now there were times that that came very easily. It wasn't always a struggle, but it wasn't steady, it wasn't regular. So now it is steady, it is regular. I've mentioned before I'm making more than I've had before, but I'm in a place of I don't feel like I can ask for more. And I don't mean from the people who are paying me for my job. So if I go back to my stability accelerator kind of module experience, like if my experience with money, if that were a person, what kind of person would it be? So I'm not speaking about my job. That's a different specific thing, but just money in general. So money is coming in, money is steadily there. Money gives me enough right now, but I don't feel like I have the power to like command more or ask for more. I feel like I will be rejected. That's another theme of mine if you haven't noticed. Um, but not in like the devastating rejection, just feeling like I don't have power. Like I don't have power to bring in more. And so that not asking, that not having power, that's like the same energetic as me feeling like I can't ask these people with large audiences to promote my work. I feel like I can't ask them. I feel like I can't command more money. I feel like and it's like what it distills down into is I feel like I can't ask for what I want. I feel like I just have to put up with what I'm getting. Obviously, that's not true. I don't just have to put up with what I am getting. I can ask for more. And there is a section in the journal that includes an asking practice. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember which section right now. Maybe I'll try to find it while I'm talking to you. But this is one of the reasons. So, like I said, my brain has been in all these areas. So, this is one of the reasons that a friend of mine who listens to these, she said to me the other week, like, "Oh, it's about desire." Yes, but even more than that, even clearer than that, even truer than that, it is about a clear frequency. When you have a clear frequency, and I keep saying this, like when you're congruent, you become attractive to whatever. Yes, that is true. Now you have like a beacon that's like, this is what we're here for. This is what we're accepting. This is what we'll handle. This is what we'll deal with. But at a 3D level, and I'm sure you've had like moments in your life that you feel this way. And for some people, this is natural as hell. Like it, for some people, this is super easy. But when you are so clear on what you want, you will just ask. You'll just ask. And because I'm a person that that's not supernatural for, it really stands out to me when I do feel that way. So when I wrote my first edition of this journal, it just came through me. Like it was just a beautiful open channel. That was like, I was describing it to somebody later, and that's when they were like, oh, yeah, when it's work but no effort. And I'm like, exactly. Like I would wake up in the morning and I would just loved the creation process. I printed out a bunch of them on Lulu that were like bound or spiral bound on the side and had like pictures of individuals on them and of the individual that I was sending them to. And it was just like love, love, love. And so I asked people to help me. Like there was no question. It was just easy. I just asked and I got no's. And the no's were just like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go ask the next person because it was so clear in me that I wanted this work out. It was so clear in me that I created this for a purpose and I wanted this in people's hands and more people's hands than I was like individually like sending it to my friends or whatever. When your signal is clear, when your signal is clear, asking is simple. It is so simple. And it's easy to hear a no because you know it doesn't really have anything to do with you. Like you know your shit so well that when somebody says no, you're like, all right, cool, not a good match. Let me ask the next person. You don't have to wait until you're in that state to ask. Sometimes asking can create that state. Um, and, it can be a little nerve-wracking. So let me go back to, let me give myself a grand reflection here. I was thinking about where am I in this process? I was listening to my podcast, the sixth one, whenever that was, maybe 2 weeks ago. I was listening to that podcast episode and I was hearing myself mention the things that would be helpful. I discovered that asking the Tony and Ryan show, like that feels like the easiest option right now. And also like that it was interesting that I just hadn't done any of the things yet. And I haven't tried to get into the action steps yet. That's just not where I've been. And that's totally fine. It's only been a month. But I noticed that and I was like, that feels like an easy one right now. And then I made the comparison to money, like feeling that like that fear of asking or that lack of asking comes from a place of feeling like I'm just at the whim of whatever I'm given, which I know isn't true. I know that's not true. I don't buy it at all. I feel it, you know, but I know it's not true. So before I recorded this, because I was like, well, I could do it after, but fuck that shit. Before I recorded this, I went to the Tony and Ryan podcast website and submitted an entry. And I said, hey, I wanted to submit this. I realized I was afraid. I've written a couple of books. I want to share them. And it's actually me sending this email that is me starting the fucking blog. That's me like being brave and just going for it. And I realized this comes back to the fear, like questioning the fear. The worst that could happen is they just never acknowledge that I wrote it. That's the worst that happens. They're not going to email me back and be like, bitch, you suck. And even if they did, I know that's not true. The worst that could happen is they just don't ever read it, right? It's wild the things our brains create that stop us from doing shit. So I said I would they're both available on Amazon. This one's going to be revised. The other one's only $10, or I'll send it free to anyone who reaches out to me on Instagram. And I left my Instagram handle. So that's it. So maybe they'll read it. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll read it and maybe some people will reach out to me and I'll send them my book. Maybe they won't. There's zero chance. This is like such an annoying thing, but it's true. There's zero chance that that would have happened before I did that. And now there's a possibility. And it was easy to, I mean, was feeling it. I was feeling vulnerable and I was feeling sensitive and I was feeling like watery when I was doing it. Um, but it was fine. I didn't even have to talk to anybody. So, the asking practice. I didn't find where it is in here. I'm gonna look right now, see if I can find it quick. No, I can't. I don't know where it is. I- You think I would know my own journal? So, okay, I'm gonna stop looking right now. Come back to it later. So I took an action step, and that is in the part three, the wisdom of your body. Doing things in 3D is the most potent way to, I've spoken about this before, one, gain clarity for yourself, gain clarity on what you feel, gain clarity on if this is the right route, gain clarity on if you're ready for this or not. And two, to start getting energy to respond to you. Like it is great, and I am definitely not dissing my journal at all, but it is great to explore what's going on internally that is holding you back. In some cases and with some people, it's easy for them to just move in the direction of what they want. If that is true for you, great. But especially when you have been wanting something, the same thing for so long, and it keeps not being here, and you keep finding yourself in the same or similar situations, or your evolution in that direction is really slow and you don't really know how it's happening. Like, that's the opportunity to explore those internal things. That's the opportunity to get this journal and go into the second section, the power of your emotions, so that you can actually harness them for good. So I took an action step today and I'm going to let it, integrate, move through me. And then, I mean, I think, it's probably time to just like do some action steps. There's more to explore. I also was thinking about the avoidance list, which is when I teach people in real life, it's one of the first things we do because it's so much energy just right up front. What are you avoiding? And, for me, avoiding the action steps. I'm avoiding doing the things that I gave myself homework to do. But instead of that, I just did it. So there. Huh. I feel like I want to keep talking, but I don't have any more to say right now. So I'll see you next time.